On December 3, 2013, 17-year-old Jayden Parkinson vanished without a trace. This wasn't out of the ordinary for the troubled teen. She'd run away before, but this time, Jayden's loved ones had a chilling intuition. Something was horribly wrong. Jayden's life had always been tumultuous. Her parents' relationship was toxic, and she found solace in the arms of Ben Blakeley, a man 5 years her senior. Their whirlwind romance was sweet at first, but it quickly turned toxic. Ben isolated Jayden from her support system, and his control extended to even the most basic aspects of her daily life. As Jayden fell deeper into his clutches, her family grew increasingly desperate. Samantha, her mother, pleaded for her to come home, but their connection was dwindling. Then, something shocking happened that would send chills down their spines. Jayden fell pregnant. Did this news offer a glimmer of hope, or would it seal her tragic fate? The quiet charm of Oxford, England, a city steeped in history and academic excellence, hides a dark and disturbing tale. It's here the story of Jayden Parkinson unfolds, a young life tragically cut short. Born in Folkestone, UK, Jayden's childhood was chaotic. Her parents' volatile relationship exposed her to conflict and instability, leaving invisible scars on her young psyche. At school, she struggled under the weight of those experiences, lashing out in frustration and yearning for something different. Enter Ben Blakeley, a former binman 5 years her senior. He swept into her life, initially offering the affection and attention she craved. Their initial bond was sweet, a balm for Jayden's bruised spirit. But as time wore on, a darker side emerged. Control became Ben's weapon. He subtly isolated Jayden, chipping away at her friendships with whispers of jealousy and possessiveness. At first, she might have mistaken it for devotion. The red flags were there, but in the whirlwind of first love, they were easy to miss. Jayden was just 14 when she met Ben, a vulnerable age where defiance can seem empowering. Her mother, Samantha, sensed danger in this age gap, but she was unable to break Ben's growing hold on her daughter. Ben wasn't simply a boyfriend. He was a lifeline for Jayden, who felt lost within the turmoil of her own family. His attention, even if it became obsessive and suffocating, gave her a sense of purpose. He filled a void, creating a dangerous dependency. Jayden began withdrawing further, skipping school and drifting away from the people who loved her. Soon, Ben controlled every aspect of her life, from the clothes she wore to the very air she breathed. This twisted dynamic set the stage for a tragedy that would unfold in the shadows of a seemingly tranquil town. Ben's grip on Jayden tightened with each passing day. It wasn't just about restricting her social circle or demanding attention. He wielded control in insidious ways, dismantling her self-worth piece by piece. He convinced Jayden she was nothing without him, that he was the only one who truly understood her. Jayden, longing for love and acceptance, tragically internalized those lies. Their relationship devolved into a toxic blend of emotional and physical abuse. He dictated her every move, what she wore, who she spoke to, even when she could use the bathroom. Her world shrank to the confines of Ben's rules, a prison veiled in twisted affection. The bars harder to see because they were forged in Jayden's own doubts. Bruises were visible, but the deeper wounds, the erosion of her spirit, were hidden. Jayden's mother, Samantha, watched her daughter transform with heartbreaking despair. Ben had even found a way to insert himself between mother and child. Jayden had a temporary refuge at a hostel for women escaping domestic violence, hoping distance would break his hold. But Ben tracked her down, forbidding her to contact her mother, ensuring her isolation. Phone calls, once a lifeline, became infrequent and strained, yet a flicker of hope ignited when Jayden revealed she was pregnant. Perhaps motherhood would be the breaking point, the unwavering love strong enough to shatter Ben's control. For Jayden, the baby symbolized a chance for a new start, a family of her own. But Ben wasn't about to be a father. Instead of embracing the news, he seethed with rage, blaming Jayden and threatening to spread intimate photos and videos of her online. This act of vile cruelty became his weapon, designed to break Jayden's spirit entirely. With no one left to turn to, fear consumed Jayden. Just days before she disappeared, she reached out to the police, exposing Ben's campaign of abuse, a desperate plea for help. Did Jayden sense something terrible was about to happen, or was this a final act of defiance, a desperate attempt to take back some semblance of control over her own crumbling life? Sadly, this last act wouldn't be enough to save her. On December 3, 2013, the unthinkable happened. Jayden vanished, leaving behind a gaping hole in the lives of those who loved her. At first, her disappearance didn't seem entirely out of the ordinary. Jayden, a troubled teen, had run away before, but her family instinctively knew this was different. A chilling sense of dread settled over them, a gut feeling that something was terribly, tragically wrong. Within hours, a missing persons report was filed. Launching a frantic search, police swarmed Jayden's surroundings, sifting through her belongings, clinging to any scrap of information that might lead to her whereabouts. They traced her last known movements, and one chilling thread emerged. Ben Blakeley. Jayden's accusations against him, his history of controlling and abusive behavior, painted a sinister picture that placed him squarely at the center of the investigation. Detectives zeroed in on Ben, questioning him relentlessly about Jayden's whereabouts. His demeanor was icy, detached, a stark contrast to the panicked worry one would expect from a concerned boyfriend. Ben painted Jayden as a runaway, a rebellious teen prone to disappearing acts. Yet even when presented with Jayden's allegations, the threats, the terrifying control he held over her, Ben's facade of nonchalance barely wavered. Frustratingly, despite the red flags waving furiously, Ben was released on bail. Each ticking hour without Jayden only intensified the fear gnawing at her loved ones. Meanwhile, Samantha, Jayden's desperate mother, refused to sit idle. She plastered Jayden's face on flyers, pleading for the public's help. Social media exploded with her pleas, hoping someone, somewhere, had seen her daughter. Days bled into a blur of worry and unanswered questions. Where was Jayden? Had Ben taken her against her will? Was she hurt, or worse? Then a breakthrough. Security footage provided a harrowing glimpse into Jayden's last known movements. It showed Jayden leaving the hostel with Ben, her expression a mask of emotions impossible to decipher. Later, at Oxford train station, they boarded a train bound for Didcot, a small town about 10 miles away. But the critical moment happened next. The footage from Didcot station showed Ben returning alone, his solitary figure. A chilling image sent shivers down the spines of investigators and confirmed their darkest suspicions. With Ben Blakeley firmly entrenched as the prime suspect, the investigation intensified. The focus shifted to Didcot, the small town where he and Jayden were last seen together. Suspicion fell upon the sprawling farmland surrounding the area. Had Ben, in his cold-hearted calculation, disposed of Jayden's body somewhere in those isolated fields? Police relentlessly questioned Ben, searching for cracks in his chillingly calm facade. Yet he remained infuriatingly detached, repeating a well-practiced story of Jayden leaving him, running off with another boyfriend. His lies fueled the burning desperation in the hearts of those looking for Jayden, desperate for any scrap of truth that might lead to her. But even as Ben stonewalled, a breakthrough came in the most unexpected of forms. A taxi driver's chilling account. He recalled picking up a young man matching Ben's description on a remote dirt road. Late on the night Jayden vanished, the passenger, agitated and nervous, had struggled with a heavy, mud-smeared suitcase, asking for the driver's help to load it into the car. This chilling detail painted a horrifying picture in the minds of investigators. Had they just stumbled upon a critical clue? Was Ben, cold and calculated, transporting Jayden's body in that suitcase? Police descended on the remote area, driven by grim determination. Service dogs, their noses attuned to the scent of human remains, joined the hunt. In a moment that twisted hope and heartbreak together, the dogs reacted inside an abandoned barn near the suspected pickup location. But Jayden's body wasn't there. Where Ben had taken her remained a terrifyingly unanswered question, prolonging the agonizing search. The suitcase became a vital link in the investigation. Ben had hastily retrieved it from his grandmother's house, claiming it wasn't his, but his grandmother contradicted him. She recalled his panicked arrival, the contents of the case unceremoniously dumped before he returned it, now caked in dirt. To add to the mounting evidence, 2 shovels went missing from her home, only to reappear later, also covered in freshly disturbed earth. A chilling picture was starting to emerge, each brushstroke more horrifying than the last. Hope for finding Jayden alive was fading rapidly. Every inch of the sprawling farmland became a potential crime scene, the weight of dread hanging heavy in the air. The community held its breath, haunted by the same desperate question. Would they ever find Jayden and bring even a semblance of peace to her anguished family? As the investigation deepened, the noose tightened around Ben Blakeley. The weight of evidence, the taxi driver's account, the suitcase recovered from his grandmother's house, the missing shovels caked in mud, cast a suffocating shadow over him. With each passing hour, the net closed in, and the chilling reality became too obvious to ignore. Police, fueled by the grim determination to find justice for Jayden, confronted him relentlessly, but Ben remained stoic, his mask of indifference shielding his dark secrets. Desperate to find Jayden, investigators turned to aerial photography to analyze the vast expanse of farmland. They identified areas where the soil showed signs of recent disturbance, potential hiding spots that twisted the knife deeper into the hearts of Jayden's loved ones. Search teams combed the countryside countryside, their spirits heavy with a mix of determination and dread. But the breakthrough the investigation desperately needed came from an unexpected and horrifying source: Ben's younger brother Jake. After days of relentless questioning, Jake's resolve crumbled under the weight of his own guilt and fear. He offered a chilling confession, a sickening key that would unlock the gruesome truth of what truly transpired that fateful night. Jake revealed a ghastly secret. He'd been a pawn in Ben's twisted plan, a brother manipulated into unwittingly becoming an accomplice to Jayden's tragic demise. In exchange for a video game and a small sum of money, Ben had enlisted his own brother into assisting him in disposing of a heavy burden. Jake, unaware of the sinister reality, believed he was simply aiding Ben with an unfortunate but mundane task. Following Jake's lead, detectives directed their focus to a shocking location, a local cemetery, the final resting place for generations of Didcot residents. Within this solemn place, another crime, darker and more grotesque than anyone could have imagined, had been committed. A fresh grave, belonging to Ben and Jake's uncle, became the center of a sickening revelation. Had Ben, in an act of unimaginable callousness, used this place of respect and remembrance as a grotesque hideaway for Jayden's body? The cemetery, typically a serene place nestled amidst the sprawling countryside, became a horrifying focal point. The chilling nature of Ben's crime, the violation of such a sacred space, sent ripples of shock, disgust, and profound sadness through the community. Investigators descended upon the site, their movements meticulous, their hearts heavy. The exhumation began, and with each shovelful of earth, the full horror of Ben Blakeley's actions would be revealed, shattering the quiet sanctity of the cemetery forever. The discovery of Jayden's body within the desecrated confines of her killer's uncle's grave sent shockwaves through the quiet town of Didcot. The sanctity of a cemetery, a place typically reserved for mourning and quiet reflection, had been shattered by an act of unspeakable evil. Jayden's family was dealt the worst blow imaginable. Their hopes, however faint, that Jayden might still be alive were cruelly extinguished. The finality of her death, compounded by the monstrous nature of her concealment, plunged them into an abyss of grief and anger. News of the grim discovery spread rapidly. Journalists descended upon Didcot, their presence a constant reminder of the darkness that had descended upon the community. Images of police cordons and forensic experts at work painted a chilling picture, fueling a mixture of horror and morbid fascination. Ben Blakeley, once merely a person of interest, became public enemy number one. His name was vilified, his actions condemned by all. The man who had hidden behind a mask of cold indifference was now revealed for the monster he truly was. Yet incredibly, Ben maintained his twisted claim of innocence. He alleged that Jayden had died accidentally during an argument, an attempt to shift blame onto the victim herself. He painted a picture of panic, claiming he'd buried her first in one location, only to move her out of fear of discovery, finally resorting to the abhorrent act of desecrating his own uncle's grave. His lies were transparent, a desperate attempt to escape the full weight of justice, but the evidence told a vastly different story. The presence of blunt force trauma on Jayden's body pointed to a brutal attack, not an accidental fall, and the chilling fact that she was found naked, her jewelry removed, hinted at darker motivations beyond a simple desire to conceal a panicked mistake. Ben Blakeley was no longer just a killer. He was manipulative and calculating to his core. The trial of Ben Blakeley became a public spectacle, a morbid fascination gripping the nation. Every detail of the case was scrutinized, every piece of evidence meticulously laid bare. Jayden's family, their grief raw and palpable, bore witness to the harrowing details of her final moments. With steely determination, they faced the man who had ripped their world apart. Ben's defense was as chilling as his crime. He attempted to absolve himself by claiming premeditation was absent. His lawyers painted a chaotic picture of a scorned man, his actions impulsive and driven by rage. But the evidence, pieced together meticulously by the prosecution, told a far more sinister story. CCTV footage from Didcot Station, showing Ben's solitary return journey, became a chilling symbol of his guilt. He had carefully planned the disposal of Jayden's body, calculatingly concealing her in a place he knew would be searched only as a last resort. This wasn't the act of a panicked young man. It was the cold, deliberate action of a killer. In the end, the jury saw through Ben's charade of innocence. They recognized the calculated cruelty behind his actions and his complete lack of remorse. The guilty verdict echoed through the courtroom, a small semblance of justice for Jayden and her devastated family. In July 2014, Ben Blakeley was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 20 years before even becoming eligible for parole. His younger brother Jake, his accomplice through coercion and manipulation, received a 3-year sentence for perverting the course of justice. While the verdict brought a degree of closure, Jayden's brutal murder left an enduring scar upon her community and the nation as a whole. Her tragic case sparked a national outcry, highlighting the devastating consequences of domestic abuse and coercive control. Samantha, Jayden's mother, became a fierce crusader against domestic violence, demanding reforms and increased awareness to prevent other families from enduring the same unimaginable pain. Jayden Parkinson's story is one of heartbreak and resilience. Her tragic end ignited a movement dedicated to protecting others from the insidious nature of abuse. Her legacy lives on as a constant reminder that even in the darkest of times, the fight for justice and the protection of the vulnerable must continue. If Jayden's story moved you, please like, comment, and share this video to raise awareness. Let's honor her memory and help prevent others from suffering the same fate. Subscribe for more stories.